Oh, my name is Sam Plucker, and at the time of the creation of this presentation, I was serving as the linebacker coach at the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh. And today I'm going to go through my presentation. Starting off, I think it's really important to give every group an identity within your team, within any organization. Having small subgroups of many organizations within your team will foster togetherness, but also foster individuality and pride in their own individual groups. And as we know, on a football field, you all have all these position groups, and they're like mini teams of 9, 10, 11 guys. So I think it's really important to allow them to have their own identity as well within the team, as long, of course, as long as it fits within the values of the team. So I always start off these presentations with some value orientation. So I just have a quote here: blood, sweat, and respect. The first two you give, the last one you earn. So the main thing I was focused on is everything has to be earned. To give you a prefix on what was going on, the 2015, 2016 they had made, and 2017 they had made runs in the playoffs. And 2017 they were a game away from the national title. And 2018, the first year I was there, didn't make the playoffs. So kind of had to reset and get back to earn the opportunity to be at a championship level program. So that was our main focus throughout this year. So I set up the goals, and of course, the first and always goal is the 100% effort to be the best player that you could be. So I asked them to identify what their legacy or what their legacy will be and what they want their legacy to be. And I think we often think of legacy as statistics and awards, but in this case, I was thinking about it of resetting the standard of making the playoffs and winning conference and doing those things and being the best possible team that we can be, and be a team that, recruits want to come to, and all the reasons that they chose to come play at UW Oshkosh. Next, be the best linebacker position group in the country. So it's no secret that when you want to do something, you want to be great at it, you have to set your goals as high as possible, and that's the highest group goal that I could come up with. And then lastly, bringing positive energy every day. So fake it till you make it is a good one. And oftentimes, when you fake energy, you eventually just get into it. So my thing was, is if we're gonna do it and we're gonna be out here, no matter what the circumstances are, you might as well bring your energy, because doing it, half tail isn't gonna help anybody. You're already out there, you're still gonna have to be out there. It doesn't make it any easier, and you feel worse when you're done doing it if you don't bring, 100%. So those are our three goals, and a couple quotes here from Will Smith, who's a guy who provides really good quotes if you are looking for a guy to share their story with. So one says, "And where I excel is ridiculous, sickening work ethic. While the other guy's sleeping, I'm working," and that's really a huge pillar that I like to fall upon for football and for my teaching and everything I'm involved in, is just the fact that I'm going to outwork you, and I expect those around me to do the same. And this linebacker group really bought into that. And at the bottom, and it says 99% is the same as zero. If you're gonna go 99, if you're gonna go 99, go ahead and stay at home. So it's just, if you're not all in, we don't want you. Don't dip your toes in the pool. You might as well jump in, even if just jump in. We're there to help you. You're not jumping in. You can use the analogy. You're not jumping in the ocean by yourself. You're jumping in the pool with all these guys around you. So even if you can't swim, they'll hold you up. You just have to trust that group around you. So that value orientation I was talking about, I call it linebacker DNA. So what are we looking for from a linebacker? And the reason that I think this is a key point of this presentation is before we get into the X and O's, we have to talk about the character building and the expectations that we expect out of our players. You look at the course of a player's career, especially here in college, or just thinking of college. You could also think of high school if you wanted to, but a player, if they play in every single game, they're guaranteed 40 games at the Division III level. If they can get a full game, a full slate of 10 games, then potentially playoffs. So you have 40 games to play, and a lot of players are freshman, sophomore year, won't play a lot. So you really only end up, probably starting 20-ish games, and that amounts to about 5 minutes, 6 minutes of playing time a game. So you take 5 times 20. You're really only playing for 100 minutes. You're making a 5-year commitment to play 100 minutes of football. And that's why we focus so much on the other stuff, because football is a really unique game where you're spending all that other time preparing for that short little period of time that you actually get to play. So you have to be really considerate of all the small factors. So when you are able to participate for that small second, you're ready to go. And a great quote of that would be like Usain Bolt. He said he trained 2.5 years to run nine seconds. And that's really how it is sometimes in sports. You're going to spend all your time training for this one moment, and you have to have everything locked and loaded. And we all know that when someone's not mentally right, they're not going to play well. So that's something I like to focus on. So, like I said, hard work is a huge core value for me. So it's a building block to a successful life, giving you a mental and physical advantage over your opponents. Anything worth achieving must be worked for. So like I just said, that statistic is kind of baffling, but if you don't want to work, you can't play. Football is not a sport that you can just hop on board and stick to it. I'd rather have a guy who's fully committed, who's not talented, than have a guy who just shows up, but he's super athletic. I think you make enough of those compromises with players, you eventually lose the integrity of the program. And you see the really good programs never do that. And that was one thing that I learned at everywhere I've been that's been successful, is that you never make sacrifices um, for a specific individual, because that only hinders your team. If an individual is not willing to give you what everyone else is giving, they don't deserve to be on that team. Next is passion, and this is a huge emphasis too, is just having energy and enjoyment while you're playing the game, and that's contagious. You really see it. 11 guys to the ball, celebrating with teammates, bringing the energy, bringing positive energy, right? Trying to be someone who makes the group better mentally, and not just being a Debbie Downer or an energy vampire. So celebrating teammate success, like I said, 11 guys celebrating is pretty intimidating. So if you got 11 guys surrounding the ball carrier, jumping up and down and celebrating, that's intimidating for an offense. And an offensive coordinator starts thinking, man, what do I do? And when that little inch of doubt gets into someone's mind, they start making decisions, that might not be the best decisions, and individuals might not be able to play as good as they used to, because they're thinking now, like, well, we're screwed. It's 3rd and 20. They just had a tackle for loss. Well, they come off the field, they're back on the field again. Oh, well, remember last time what happened? And you just give that inch of doubt in their minds, and then you get a tactical advantage there. Grit, resiliency to adversity without making excuses. That's how I define grit. I think that we're becoming a culture of excuses. Everyone makes an excuses for everything, and I've been guilty of that in the past too. But I've decided to make a conscious effort that I'm going to take extreme ownership in what I do. If it fails, I could do better. I'm not going to make an excuse about a player. If a player doesn't do their job, it's my fault. And you could say, well, you taught him that. I didn't teach him good enough. And taking that extreme ownership is going to teach the players to do the same thing, because eventually they're not going to be playing football anymore, and they're going to be working as a job. And I think the biggest tool you can give someone is that ability to fight through adversity and not make excuses, because those are going to be employable adults who go out and dominate the world in whatever they're in. So passion and perseverance for long-term and meaningful goals. So this is awesome for football. Just like I said before, you only get to play so much, so you have to stick to the grind. Are you willing to persevere through injury, persevere through hard workouts? Do you have the passion to do it? Do you love football? Do you love playing the game? And I think it's really overused in recruiting, and I don't like it in that aspect. But I think, it is a question you eventually have to ask. How much do you like football? Because it's a huge commitment in college and even in high school. It's a lot of extra work where if you don't like it and if you're not enjoying it, it's not worth it. And then lastly, performing when everything may not be in your favor. So again, just don't make excuses, um, especially excuses that are affecting like the weather, right? So the weather, you're both playing on the same surface in the same weather with the same, with the same wind. You get the wind half the time, you don't get it half the time. It's all fair. Everyone deals with injuries, right? Everyone has the same problems going on. So nothing you're experiencing hasn't been experienced before. So conquer it and stop making excuses. So here, getting into the nuts and bolts of the actual drills we do, you really look at 6 pillars. And if I wanted to draw right here, this would be this would be what I would consider a quality linebacker. And if you pull out one of those pillars, you can see how it'd fall off. Won't be able to stabilize it. And I think that the key to a good linebacker will start and finish with their ability um, to play within the scheme, but also have an ability to read plays and make plays that go beyond the expectations of the scheme. And I'll explain a little bit more what I mean about that. But, you know, oftentimes, pretty much every team you play is going to account for a blocking a linebacker. We're not just going to accept getting blocked. So we're not going to say, well, you fit inside and then someone else is going to make play. No, you got to go above and beyond. You got to stay inside and control your gap, but two gap and play off of it. Keeping your leverage, getting an extra hat over the top. We're going to expect you to do more. And that's, the position of the linebacker to me is like the position of a quarterback, where you can't expect them to just do the basics. They got to be able to do a little bit more if you want to be a good team. So I'll go through these in alphabetical order here and just kind of talk through each step by step and then how we work that individual pillar. So starting off with agility. So agility, I think we all have a good idea of agility. How quick are we? How are we moving on our feet? So a linebacker must be able to move efficiently to make plays in both the run and the pass game. By progressing from slow to fast tempo, we're going to build the mechanics necessary to complete the movements. And mechanics, I can't, emphasize this enough. We're going to look at every single element of what a linebacker does, and we're going to break it down. So if it's a shuffle, we're going to look at the mechanics of a shuffle. We're not just going to say go shuffle. We're going to break down everything we do. Like I said, we're practicing so much and compared to game time that you can't overlook those little things. So here's our shuffle progression. And I'm going to show periodically throughout this video, there'll be good clips and there'll be bad clips. So I want to show, what to do, what not to do. So as you can see here, he's a veteran. He takes a little read step. That's nothing that I taught or nothing I ever said. He learned it in the past. It's something that he played comfortable with, and he does it every time. That's just leadership right there. So as you can see, what we're really focusing on is a shuffle, and you can see the first shuffle's good, right? So we want to have about a ruler to a ruler and a half between our feet. So you're looking at 12 inches or 18 inches. So somewhere in between that range. So now if you got a guy that's 5'4", obviously you're going to lean to there. You got a 6'4" linebacker who's probably going to be in that 18 range. So we're looking at that. We want toes slightly pointed out here on the backside towards where you're going, slightly. We want to be on the balls of our feet, of course, head up, strong chest, hands ready to play. When we talk a lot about in our stance is just not exposing your chest. So there's a variety of different ways to do it. You want to be comfortable, but I want to get that little bend in that back right there where you're not standing straight up so you can get that straight punch into the chest. We want to have an angled chest right here. So you can see he's got that front toe pointed just slightly out to where he's going. And this is a really good step right here. But then now this is the problem that we see with a lot of linebackers is he's toe clicking actually, which he's playing his balls of his feet, which I like. But as you can see right now at this stage, he can't redirect. So when we're shuffling as a linebacker, we should be at any moment able to move downhill, downhill this way, laterally this way, or back pedal, or pedal weave, or go downhill, straight forward, right? We want to be able to complete the whole wheel. We want to be able to do all of it. So you can't do it in that position. So that's why we really emphasize it. And again, we're breaking it down to slow movements to emphasize technique. This is a little bit better here. He's got that slightly open toe. But again, this is a heel click. Too close. You can't redirect out of that situation. So this is a really good drill to film. Even in summer training, winter training, you don't need pads, you don't need nothing. And for really every athlete on your team, simple, easy to drill, but also you're building a base skill that's beneficial in pretty much every sport you'll play, having the ability to move laterally. So again, we're getting our feet too close. We can't redirect off of that. So then what we'll do is we'll come back at a little bit faster speed. So now maybe we'll say 60% or 75%. And again, we see that same thing, but he's got a good chest and he's on the balls of his feet and his hands are ready. So there's stuff to build off of And you can see now as a coach, what I'm saying is, no, we got stuff that we're doing well, but we got a problem. So I'm not sitting here as a coach saying, man, these guys they just don't get it. They're not listening. No, I'm saying I'm not doing something right because everyone else they got all the elements of it right except the heel click. So clearly I'm not doing something right as a coach. And now I see it. And then the next thing I'm going to do, the next day is emphasize a really slow walk shuffle where we're keeping that full ruler. And if I got to bring a ruler out, I'll bring a ruler out. And every step I'll put a ruler in between to measure. Until they get to a point where they're like, this is ridiculous. I'm just going to do it, and they'll build the muscle memory off of it. So then we go full speed. As you can see here, we'll go full speed. My goal with full speed is just letting them go. Even if the technique's terrible, I'll let them go. We'll watch it on film and do it because I want to see what they're going to do in a live situation. Next, I move to a little pedal, so straight down the line. So this is part of my ed. So everyday drills that I do, I start every day with this. Start on a shuffle. What I'm really looking for on this shuffle is that Z-ish right here, right? What he does really well is he's got his chest over his knees, right? He's got the good bend in his legs, playing on the ball of his toes. As you can see, his feet are never getting outside of the box. So I like to say, picture a box. You want to keep your extremities in this box. Once one hand gets too wide or one foot gets too long, you're going to fall and not be able to redirect. So again, we're not defensive backs, but this is a valuable tool to use in certain situations within our defense. And they got pretty good at it. And you can see his hands right here are a little too wide. He's doing, he's doing sprinting hand technique. Whereas if you watch here, he's not going so dramatic. So, here to here, right? You really only need to go chest to hip with the back pedal technique, so you can keep that elbow bent. See how his elbow goes completely straight out? Should never. It should always be bent. And I'll show you the clip of number 8 doing it right here. How his elbow is bent. His elbow is always bent. It's always bent. That's really good technique. Now, after we go back and forth on that, call this the shuffle hip flip drill. So I don't even know where I got this from, but I love it. So our goal is we're going to move down this line, and our goal is to flip our hips. So I have my hips pointed directly this way, flip at 180 as fast as I can while maintaining my pad level without getting my head up as many times as possible. So I'm not seeing how fast I can get from here to here. I'm seeing how many flips I can get in this short period of time. So I'm looking for this quick explosion. See, boom, hip flip, hip flip. You got to be able to get in and out of breaks. You got to be able to flip your hips, change direction, have loose hips, and this is great technique right here by 8. He's a tad high. He's a tad high, but it's really good for one of the first times we've done this. And as you can see how he's so smooth with his hip rotation. Boom, boom. And you can see 47 here is a little more robotic. It's more of this is like a drop step in basketball. And again, we're just starting this. So, this kid's a great athlete. We worked on it and he got a lot better at it. So this is just the first time, but it's a little bit more robotic. So you can see how he's drop stepping it and how it was smoother at first. And that's a little bit in between. So it's not quite as smooth here, but he's also not drop stepping. That's not bad right there. 12's completely drop stepping. You see how he's just switching feet. He's not powering the movement with his hips. He's powering the movement with his feet. So one thing you could do is you could just follow them and put your hand right here and just make sure their helmet never touches your hand. So those are the base everyday drills that we do, and then for agility, and you can always add in different things that you like to add, 4-cone drill, bags, stuff like that. But that's really the emphasis I like because it requires no equipment. And how we do warm up is the players warm up on their own, and then we have indie. So I like to use the first part of indie to focus on that technique while also getting them warmed up to get ready to practice and get ready to go. Because sometimes it just doesn't completely get you ready to go when they do their in position warm ups. They still need a little bit of a transition to get their body ready for linebacker specific movements in a stance and things such as that. Excuse me. So block destruction. Block destruction is very important, obviously. So a linebacker's got to beat blockers they're going up against. That's just a, that's a no. Well, no duh. No duh, Sam. But I think that's the first thing we got to tell them is you got to beat the block. You're not getting blocked. You got to beat the block. It's the most basic thing you can tell them. When they say I'm getting blocked, don't get blocked. So we're going to mainly teach how to beat the blockers with physicality. However, there are times when it's best to beat a blocker with speed. So now we're in this zone run scheme era where you're going to get blocked. And we're in a lot of gap option era as well where you're going to get blocked. Teams are getting up to the second level either by running zone schemes or by leaving, defensive linemen unblocked and immediately climbing. So we start off with this knee explosion drill, and I start off with this, and these clips are all wrong. The punches are good, but as you can see, we never get to full extension. And this is why I showed this, because I've seen a lot of people do this drill, and this is probably what you're going to get the first time. But if you don't see what they're doing wrong, you're never going to be able to fix it. So that's why I included these in here. So as you can see, he's got a good punch. We're really focusing on leverage. So I want him to have this left hand in this case. So he's in left leverage, right? So he's controlling this gap. He's gonna have his left hand here and his right hand in the middle of his chest. So if this was a real person, we'd have their left hand on the shoulder pad, and then we'd have our right hand here on the close number. So if he's 87, remember being the 8 there. What he never gets is full extension, and this is the first time we did it. And as a young coach, I learned a lesson. I didn't emphasize the extension part. I emphasized the hands. And we went back and fixed it. So again, you notice a problem, not the player's fault. When a drill doesn't go perfect, it's your fault. And it's nothing to get upset about. Come back the next day, you fix the problem, and you continue to move on. That's what coaching's all about. So ultimately in this finish, you'd want a straight line from his hips all the way down to his toes. So knees off the ground here, knee off the ground here, and you want a straight line. And that would be full extension. And the goal here is to learn how to get our hips through on the punch. So fostering power from our hips into our punch. You're not going to be strong enough just to punch these guys off with your hands. You need to power it from your lower body. So we watch another example. This is better, but again, our knees aren't coming off the ground. He's getting the pop, though. If you look, you see how his knees are off the ground? He's getting there, but then he just goes right back down. But he's getting the knees off the ground instinctively and driving it, and that was just natural for him. So that was a pretty good rep. I'm still looking for that full extension, but I can tell that he's working to power his hips and to power the movement. So now we go into this 4-punch drill. So this is probably my favorite drill of all time. The guys love it. Every guy really likes doing it. So we're working on his leverage punch. So we don't really necessarily ever two-gap an offensive lineman. So you look at the mathematics of it, and let's pretend this is a blocker, and he's an O-lineman. And I'll just use a college term, right? So he's 300 pounds. This guy's, let's say he's 215. 215 versus 300 full on is very hard to win. There are a lot of factors that have to come into play just because it's the pure amount of mass he has. So what we like to say is, okay, you're 215, right? We're going to cut you in half, all right? And you're now 150, right? You only have half of your mass and half of your power. So I'm going to attack him with all my power onto half of his power, control my gap, and then can rip over the top late to make a play in the other gap. So primary, secondary gap. All right? And like I said, it's just simple mathematics. I want to take 215 against 150 rather than 215 against 300 all day. Every day of the week, every month of the year, every year of the century, every century of eternity. I want to take this matchup over this matchup. So this drill is emphasizing that 4 times. So he's going to come here, and his power foot is going to be his inside foot. He's got to stick this right foot into the ground strong, push through his hips and power. Like I said, his right hand in this case will be on the inside number. You can't see the blocker, but right on the inside number, left hand right on the outside of the shoulder. blade, and he's going to control that gap with a powerful punch grab. He's going to have to grab a hold of him so then he can throw him off when he gets. And again, he's playing his leverage. So let's watch him here. I'm looking for that stop. Boom. He gets his foot down. Boom. You can see that slight hip extension right there. Boom. Hip extension. All of his momentum is going into the bag, but he still has this outside foot playing his leverage gap, and his head's in his gap, his shoulder's in a gap. The ball carrier comes here, he's dead. He's dead water. He's got him. Now, if the ball carrier bounces, he can pull down with his right arm, rip over with his left, and play it. Or he can stay with both arms in a two-arm shed. Whatever he wants to do, whatever he feels comfortable with, but he's got his gap. Boom. Now, what I'm going to ask him to do is go from leverage to leverage to leverage to leverage to finish. I think that playing linebacker is such a dynamic environment that I want them to be able to defeat a block without anticipating it coming. A lot of times you see guys train in a very static environment by doing one of these. It's very predictable. You can think about the technique before you do it, but that's nothing like a game. You know, a game's going to occur, and all of a sudden a blocker is going to come and hit you, and you better be ready to, within a half a second, see him, get your foot down, plant, and control your gap. And this is what this drill is really working on. So he does it, boom. Again, he gets his plant foot down, his full extension, his head and shoulders are in the gap. Boom. 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 Good. He's getting a little close, right? You see his head's peeking a little bit. I'd like to see him a little bit more out. But again, power, rips off of it, finishes. Good. Now, one thing you can see that he does really well, and I'm going to show you a clip that might not be as good, but he finishes through his punch. You see how his arm's fully extended? That's really good stuff right there. He's punching in and up. See that? Simultaneously. It's at a straight angle. He's punching at that angle. Boom. Creates extension. Now his arms are completely extended. The lineman ain't going to be able to get hands into him. He can control this half of center of mass. Ball carrier's here. He's off, taking him, tackling him. Ball carrier bounces outside. Boom. You know, either left hand down, right arm rip, left arm down, right arm over the top, or two-hand throw over the top. Either way, he can play it. Boom. Let's watch one more clip of this. I got clips of this all day, but I don't want to too long here. Now you can see he gets that power foot in, but as you can see, he's slapping the bag. Whereas he was before, he had more control. He's slapping it, and that ain't gonna get it done. But one thing you can also notice about him is that if this ball goes this way, he's got absolutely no chance because he's so worried about this, the next step, that he's not doing this right. Whereas the other, number 8 before had control and he looked, he saw it, he made it realistic. He didn't, which is fine. It's the first time doing it, but that's what I'm coaching him up now. Okay, you got to take each drill, each part of the drill as a piece because right now, you get into his third rep, his power foot wasn't in the ground right? His hands are not extended. He's already looking at the next bag. He has no chance of two gap in this play. Boom. Can't rush through it like that. So that's what we'd be talking about film, and he finishes tall, right? So this is before, then I'm starting to implement if you've seen any of my videos before, a softball, I'll roll a softball, so they got to get in a good stance and scoop it up. So that's the 4-punch drill. Now we're going to work the sled from a standing linebacker position. So we're going to get the power foot down, put good hand on the inside numbers, hand on the shoulder blade, power through our hips to get extension, up. As you can see, he didn't quite get to the extension, but he's getting some hip extension. Excuse me, he's getting some hip extension. But not much. Excuse me. That's a little bit better. You can see he's got a little bit better power angle here, number 12. He's got a better power angle. He's underneath him. He's driving underneath him. You can see his hips are at a greater angle. He's got a little bit better power angle, and now he can control him. But now what does he do? He doesn't control his gap. See how he's centered up on him now? He lost this outside foot and this outside shade and his head inside this gap. So now he's lost his primary gap. When you lose your primary gap, you lose. Now you're into a straight 2 gap. And again, 300 pounds, 200 pounds. Mathematics just don't work out. Same thing here we just discussed. Now we move on to I'm going to do that because he got his shoulder hurt there. We don't need to show that. Let me see. We get to a good clip here. But now we're going to work in more of a dynamic environment here. So what I'm really emphasizing with this, let's see if I can get to a clip here with just a clip here with number 8 to give you guys an example of what exactly we're looking for here. We're putting it into a real life scenario. Okay, so this is the O lineman and this is the running back. So he's gonna have to get his left foot in the left foot power foot in the ground, left hand here, right hand here, get that power angle up to full extension, control his primary gap, and have an option to get back to the secondary gap. I start out locked up, so I start him locked up on each other. So what that does is that forces him. Okay, he's already got his hands. It forces him to create the power angle with his hands to get off of him. Because if he just tries to push him, he'll just stay locked on. But if he can power angle through it, get his hands up, and get an angle, now he can take one hand and chop it, the other one down, and rip through. But if they're just locked up like this, he's never going to get out of it. So if you walk in slow motion, you can see how he gets extended, right? But it's not the angle we want. See how he pops straight up in his body and his arms are even. That's not exactly what we want. So now he's having a harder time getting off of it. But he does a really good job of the escape, and that's why I'm going to show you this video, is he does control the gap, and then this is the escape I was talking about. So he's going to take his right arm here, and he's going to try to get his elbow underneath this arm, and then he can chop his own arm off. So what he's doing is he's gripping right here, right? So the offensive lineman's got him gripped. So he's got to use this arm to get this arm off. So to defeat the grip, he's going to take his elbow and get it right into that wrist and scrunch back to have the O lineman release his hand, and then he can rip through and get in on the play. So that was to show that technique. Now let's watch again. Let's see if we can get a good clip of it, of the power angle. So again, he is straight up. So as a coach, what am I saying? We're not getting that quite power angle, but again, this escape is really good, and he does a good job of the escape. So again, it's not about the tackle. It's not about going live or anything like that. It's just about being able to get the power angle and get a guy off you. So this is a drill here I shared on Twitter, and a lot of guys seem to really like this drill. So this is the next evolution of it. So now we are still doing the leverage power foot. Still got our hands here, eyes controlling our primary gap. But now I'm saying, okay, now the ball carries in the secondary gap. Boom. So this was one of the options I talked about, right? So rip with that inside hand down, and he's coming over the top with a swipe, and then he's going to finish. So we always say, keep your head on the same side. We can't do head across football anymore. Head on the inside. Boom. And now you watch what he does a really good job here. Is this a hawk tackle? So he's got his shoulder to that near hip. He's driving. He's got his head on his right side. Hands are gripped. He's got a good power angle, and he's going to drive. Boom. Great rep right there. That's just a great rep of film. We'll watch one more here. So this one's not quite as good on the punch. It's a little bit softer punch. The escape pretty good, though, and then the tackle is good as well. Puts his head down a little bit early, though, doesn't he? Would have been tough to make in a live situation. All right, so that was block destruction. Now we're moving on to the third one, which is change of direction. So linebackers got to be able to change direction always. And we always talk about the most efficient way. So I don't care how fast the guy can run in a straight line. I care how fast you can change directions. Now, if I'm coaching at the University of Wisconsin or the Packers, I care about straight line speed. But in the realm of high school football and Division III, Division II, Division I FCS football, even there is you have an ability to play guys who don't have great linear speed but can play laterally. So we start off here with a 45 turns. So this is a good drill to work on getting to our spot. So if you watch right here again, 8 does a great job. Flips his hips and turns and runs. So this is a crossover run. You could teach it, it's just the front part of karaoke. So if you just kept doing the front part of karaoke and never did the back part, if you can see here, it's just the front part of karaoke, flip your hips, the front part of karaoke, flip your hips. Now the difficulty with this is everyone kind of wants to shuffle. If you watch 22 right here, he's just kind of shuffling. And that's not what we're trying to do here. We're trying to do the front part of karaoke. And again, I'm going to show the clip of number 8 here. Sorry, it starts a little late. But he's just doing the front part of karaoke, turning and running with his hips. And this is the first time they do it, so they're really feeling it out. And the first inchick is a shuffle, but watch 42 here. He's starting to feel it out. Good. He's doing that front part of karaoke, dropping his hips and get down. Good. I'd like to stay low the whole time, though. I don't want to see you drop, pop up, drop, pop up, drop. No, stay low the whole time. That's me giving an example. Not the best. Let's watch 8 here. He does a great job. So this is exactly what we're looking for. Boom. Front part of karaoke. Flip your hips. Good. Stay at the same level the whole time. Eyes on the quarterback. Boom. Perfect. Now we shorten it up. Now I'm saying one drop down. So I want to see how fast you can get into your drop and get out of it. Working hips. So again, he's in shuffle mode. Got to get him out of that. He's in that crossover run mode that we want. And get downhill. Boom. Good. Let's watch one more. Crossover. Boom. This is a good job right here by 42. Boom. Boom. Good. Now, so this is a W drill. Everyone does this. You're pedal weaving, right? So it's the same technique as we worked on a back pedal before, except now you're at an angle. You're just weaving. Boom. Same exact technique. Boom. Call it toe to heel, though. That's the only difference. We're going to say toe to heel. That means he's going to, excuse me, apparently can't. See that? Toe to heel. Of course, now I go fast. Toe to heel, toe to heel, toe to heel. Watch another one. Toe to heel, toe to heel. But what they all do a good job is their heads facing forward towards the quarterback, and everything is square. You got to stay square. You got to keep your head to the quarterback. But if you really think about it as a linebacker, you got really two good options to drop. You got that one I just showed you, which is a 45-degree crossover run, keeping your head straight. Or you can use this, which is a pedal weave. Both are very effective. I think that both can be implemented at any level. You just have to identify, which works best for your team. But honestly, I would just prefer to do what I do and teach both, and then let the players choose. What works best for them, what works best for them in certain situations. Maybe a little bit of both. So that's W drill. Now we're going to work on some bags. I'm sure all you guys do these. So just working on agile in and out. One thing I will note is I never go over the bags. And a really good coach once told me, he said, I don't never go over a bag because when have you ever seen on the football field a linebacker going over a bag? And I kind of thought about it, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like, there's no need to go over a bag. There's no need to get your feet up off the ground like that because we always tell them, we want to keep their, on their balls, their toes. But when do you ever want to step over a 2-foot implement within the game of football? No, we want to keep our feet, as sound to the ground as possible. And we always finish. We always emphasize the finish. Here's a catch. So this is a little bit of a different one. So we go over 3, back 1. So we're working on shuffle. So everything we do relates. So all those agility drills are shuffle. I'm looking to see how they incorporate within these drills. So we start every day with a shuffle progression. So when we ask them to do shuffles, I expect them to be, decently proficient in shuffles because we work on them every day. So now we're just adding an element to it. Boom. We're adding a shuffle. We're adding a redirect with a catch. So we're trying to put it into a different game-like situation. You're reading the quarterback, and you commit, right? I'm reading underneath the defender. Boom, read the quarterback. He looks there, I'm coming out of it. Got to catch and make a play, and he drops it there. All right, now here is a pedal weave, open, finish. So the thought of process of this is your pedal weave into your spot, right? Pedal, let's say to a curl. And then the quarterback, boom, he looks right here. Out of the corner of your eye, you see a dig coming. So I'm going to run to that dig, right? But now the quarterback triggers. Now I got to come downhill and get him. So the process here is I'm getting to my spot, boom, he's throwing it there. I'm trying to cut it off, and I'm getting downhill. So a realistic game-like situation is taking the agility skills that we've already worked on and emphasizing them. And then we got the finishing. You couldn't see it here, so hopefully you get a better view of the finish. I just want to say is here's that softball finish that I talked about. Giving them a reason to finish, giving them a reason to finish in good body position so they don't just run through standing up. There's a good finish. Boom. Not great, but he finished in a good body position, finishing with an ending drill. There's good finish. Redirect off of it, right? Because you're not just going to run down full speed and light a quarterback up. You know, quarterbacks are smart. So they're going to make a little bit of move on you, redirect, and make a play. Good. Here's another combination type combination agility, change direction type drill. And what I do on this is it's all off my verbal command. So they know they got to sprint. They got to sprint, shuffle, a back pedal, and a flip. But I'm commanding them. I'm telling them when to do it. So there's no preconceived plan in their head of how they're going to do it. I want it to be like a game, you know, in a game like, you know, they're playing boom, pull. Now all of a sudden I got to tell my body, you know, what to do within a half a second or else I'm wrong or, you know, I'm not going to be able to get over the top. So this is what I'm trying to simulate, a game-like situation. So I'll go say sprint, jump, back, flip, you know, and just give them those quick cues that they got to use. So here is sprint, shovel, back, flip, boom. And we're trying to work on maintain a pad level, same good shuffle technique, back pedal technique. We want to put it all together, boom, flip, and see it. So we're putting all those drills together. It's good rep by 12, except he's heel clicking. So that's what we're telling him, stop heel clicking. Boom. Heel clicking. You can see when you put them in pressure situations where they don't know exactly where they're going, everyone starts heel clicking because it's a little bit harder. Good. It's a good flip right there. You can see how he's got good hip mobility. Finish it off here with 3-car. Good. All right, so this is circuit. We call these circuits. So we have run circuits and pass circuits. And in this case, we're going to work a circuit where we're working on a punch, cut, block, defeat, rip, and then we're finishing with a redirect on the softball. So I consider this change direction drill because you're changing everything. So you guys already know the punch. You know what we teach on, or what I teach on the cut, block, defeat is push out and away. You know, so you honestly in a game situation it's different because it's not a ball, it's a head. But you'd want one hand on the helmet, one hand on the shoulder pad. You're pushing it away and down at an angle, right? So you're pushing it away from you and down, and you're jumping your feet back. You know, almost to a plank type position, like a mid plank type position. Ripping through. Want to make the smallest surface as possible on the rip. He does a pretty good job there. You know, we want to give him our back, not our front. And then we're going to redirect. Good. Here's another clip of it. So pass coverage. Linebackers got to help the secondary in coverage. So predominantly in the system that I run, the systems that I've been around, linebackers' main job is just to take away those underneath passing lanes. You know, obviously they can play a bigger role or a smaller role, depending on what type of team you are. But my goal is to be able to make plays in the intermediate passing game by being that, you know, middle defender, that middle hole, the defender, pass defender. So this is a drill right here, right? So we're trying to work realistic situations. So this linebacker's reading me as a quarterback. I'm looking right and left like I'm a quarterback, and he's just playing off me. So this is specific to it, the type of coverage we ran. But it's, you know, it's just like playing any match type coverage or any coverage where you're reading the quarterback, really. So he's going back and forth off my eyes, and this is receiver. So then I'm going to break him right, break him left. So he's shuffling back and forth. And then once I take my top hand off the ball or my non-dominant hand off the ball, he knows I'm throwing it. He's going to undercut the receiver. So if you watch here, he's reading the quarterback. Boom, he's undercutting him, but watch. It all connects, right? What does he do on this shuffle? he gets way overextended, right? So this is way more than 12 or 18 inches. And just like when you're too close, when you're too far away, you can't redirect either. So this is putting it all together and you learn lessons. So now we're teaching that again. So we're teaching all this stuff over and over and over again. And as you can see, the more game-like a drill gets, the more issues you have with the base skills because now it's a dynamic environment. And that's why we work on them so much, and that's why we break them down. So we'll watch one more clip here, and hopefully we get a good clip here. So he's reading the quarterback. Great job staying square. And looks like whoever threw the ball threw it a little too quick. It's a good job there, though. But you can see he's just reading the quarterback, shuffling off of him, doing a good job with his feet, cutting it off. Now here we're doing the same type of thing, but now we switched up the movement. We're going to do a back pedal. Once the quarterback declares right or left, then you're gonna cut. You're gonna do a pedal weave, or you're gonna turn and run at a 45 like he does, and make a play on the ball. So this is dropping back straight, reading the quarterback like let's say you're a Mike backer dropping on the hash, and watching off the quarterback's eyes. Boom, he looks for this quick. Let's just say, if he's at 5 yards, let's say it's like a 12-yard curl. Boom, making a play right on it. Let's see another clip here. Boom. Good job. We're just working on this redirect. How fast can you transition in and out of movements? And that's really what linebacker's all about. Good job. All right. So pass coverage. When we do play man, it's undoubtedly we're going to end up in some form of a trail position if we're playing man and a receiver, and that's at any level. We're linebackers, right? Especially inside linebacker group. We're going to eventually be in a trail position. So what this is working on is tracking this hip. So I'm staring right at this inside hip. When this receiver is full speed, I got my hand on his hip. When he's full speed, I'm full speed. When he breaks down, I break down, right? Because let's say I'm an inside leverage here and he's running a dig, right? I can't just run right by him and him undercut me. So I'm always staying on this bottom side and playing it. So when he settles or when he chops, I chop. When he sprints, I sprint. So we're just trapping him. And a lot of times too, we'll have over-the-top help as linebackers, so this is a really good drill to simulate, making sure that we're protecting the areas we need to protect. If he runs straight vertical and let's say it's cover two man, or cover one, we got help. We still obviously want to do our best to, have our safeties be in a good position where they don't have to bail us out, but they're there to bail us out if they need to be. So here, boom, he sprints. Now I'm breaking down. Sprints, chops. Sprints, chops. Whatever you want, whatever terminology you use. Sprints, chops. Sprints, chops. So you just got to track that inside hip. It's really good to stay. Okay, boom. You can tell right now he's a little bit overcommitted where, he might be able to slip back underneath him. And receivers are going to be a little more crafty. Obviously they're linebackers. They're going to be here, boom, and they're going to cut underneath you, or they're going to run like a mini whip or whatever. But we're just tracking that inside hip and toning it. As you can see, he's not looking at the hip right now. And that's what I'm telling him. I'm saying, where are you looking? You got to be staring at this near hip. So schematic knowledge. So this is just a little bit basis. So obviously you got to understand how to play the role. And you can't think on the field. Like I said before, you got such a small amount of time. You got to be reacting off of a premise. And what I mean by that is you have to know what you're doing or know what you do in certain situations. So if this happens, I'm doing this. If this happens, I'm doing this. If this happens, I'm doing this. You can't make critical thinking decisions within a half of a second within the game. You can't see a pull and say, okay, well, we're in cover three. The safety's coming. The play's already over. You have to know what you're going to do before you do it. And that comes by repetition, and that comes by film study, and that comes by being coached up. So some basic premises of our defense, and your defense may be different, but I think that these principles of linebacker play are pretty universal for most systems. Obviously, there is going to be variances within systems. So down block, you're going to see that, and see that O-line collapse down. You got to fit tight off the edge and spill everything. So tail to tail, butt to butt, scrape paint, whatever you want to talk about. But in this case, we're on this side. I'm going to come tight and I'm going to have my right shoulder should be right on the buttocks of this tackle on this down block. I want no air here. And, because what's a running back saying? He's thinking, man, if I just get a little air, boom. If I just get a little air. So our job is to take away that air. You got to think of like, this is an oxygen tank, right? You got to shut the oxygen tank down. Whatever you got to tell terminology to get the job done, you do. So how I work that is I say, okay, here's a tackle, here's the gap, right? So you got to stay tight in between these bags. So I physically make them stay tight by creating a barrier. And then we're going to finish, because we always finish, with a softball redirect. So we're going to get our read, excuse me here, get our read, fit tight. See how tight he is? Now you're going to say, well, coach, you just said, take his elbow to his butt. Yeah, we're not in pads, we're not having contact at all in this situation. I think there's a lot of situations where you want to work on football without, being able to work on football. This is a great way to do it, and he knows now when you see it, he's so tight that if they're in pads, he could easily, slap him on the bottom right now if he had to. So they're still working on it without getting that contact, because I've been on enough teams, been enough things. If you do this drill without pads, someone's going to sprint full speed and ram this person and give him a Charlie horse or something, and it's going to be a fight. So just trust me, it's good, and you're still teaching the same things. Watch one more. So we worked on it. I teach them on the premise that no matter what I say, we're going to work on it. Even if it's this is the simplest drill, they've probably been working on down blocks since they were a kid, but I'm going to add factors to it to make it more game-like I do with the softball drills, for example. But they're still got to work on the fundamentals, and that's what we do. So pull, now we're going to see an O-lineman pull across the center, or a center pull. You got to flow straight right over the top, and our goal is to not move downhill towards the line of scrimmage. We just want to keep depth. So we want to stay at that depth until we get that open gap, and then we'll attack. And I'll show you right here. So our goal will be to stay at a straight line till they get it. Why? Right? Because these two on the backside are trying to double team back to you. All right. What could they ask for more than them get a pretty decent double team and you sprint right here, and this guy just says, okay, I'll take him. Right? And he sticks on him. The last thing they want is you to stay away and have space in between. So I say, okay, we're going to give you a pull read, but then we're going to add this defender, because you physically can't creep towards the line of scrimmage because there's a guy right there to defeat the bag. So now it's muscle memory, and you finish with the ball. So we're getting a pull, staying square, and we have an actual bag there to force that defender to stay square. Now we're going more into plays. So I'm just going to break down the basic plays, and we're going to fit them up. So in this case, it's an ISO strong. 2-5 technique. They're opening up the B gap. Sam linebacker is going to be spilling this within our system, and the Mike linebacker is going to be flowing over the top. So some teams will trigger this, but we figured out that there's not an angle there. You're not going to make that play in the backfield, and you can easily replace that gap for the late cutback. So you just simulate it, right? We run to the best we can with as many guys we have. We're on ISO. They see the reads. Now look, this is the first pack screen. What do you say? Boom, he's getting downhill. So why do you think I did that? I ended up having to do that drill later in the day, because I'm like, we need to work on it. Immediately get downhill and get into it. So now ISO weak. So now the mic's spilling. But now with that B gap, you get a better angle where that Sam can trigger off that backside. And just found like that's an angle that you could potentially make a play on. But now we always give him a rule. We say, hey, Sam backer, you can hit this, or you can stay over the top, and then the safety will replace you. Because if the Sam linebacker triggers, then the rover can just replace him, or the strong safety can replace him on the flow. But if the Sam goes over the top, then the rover will just replace him in this backside B gap because, if he's getting this handoff, right, you're going to get a same side handoff here 99% of the time. You have to cut all the way back to this backside B so the rover be your strong safety be able to make play pretty easily. So here, and as you can see, I'm given a number. Usually I say ISO's 1, powers 2, counters 3, and I tell them where to block. And we try to get like 2 to 3 reps in a row, so they'll get a rep, run back, get a rep, run back, get a rep, run back. So here the Sam takes the gap, that's fine. And you always have to declare who the tight end is, of course. But here we go, ISO, he's winning inside. He's bending that backside. Get another clip of it here. That looks like, excuse me here. This is out of order. We'll just come back to it. So power veer. So what we say by power veer here is where they're going to trap this nose or this nickel right here. They're going to double team this guy to the backside Mike, kick him out, down block on him, hinge, and then they're going to wrap with obviously with the backside guard. So what we're seeing here is straight down block, just like we talked about. You're going to fit tight, and then we're scraping over the top. And let's watch it right here. I got to go back. So this power veer. Boom. Everyone straight down. He's right here. He's going to try to stay as tight as possible. Boom. And now as you can see, what he does a good job is he gets that right hand on the tack or on the tight end right here. And now he's going to take this left hand and dip and rip underneath the puller to spill the puller. That's a really good job. And see how, look at this. See his hands, how close he is to the ground? He's dipping and ripping. This is deliberate practice. Now you watch 8. He's a little high here, but watch 8. That's deliberate practice. He doesn't move 1 inch forward. It's exactly what we want. Good luck getting the double team back to him with that discipline at linebacker play. Now power double. Now the only difference is they're going to double the 5 technique now. All right, so what that means, the B gap's going to open. The Sam's hitting this open B gap. Mike's flowing over top. Okay, let's watch it here. I got 2 clips of it. That's power veer again. This must be power double. Apologize. Here, boom. This is just power weak. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know how these got order. So this actually is counter. So I'll just draw it up here. So we got down blocks, right? He's fitting tight. He's flowing over. Nothing changes. Fit and flow, fit and flow, fit and flow. Counter again. And then we'll finish with tackling. So a linebacker's got to make, physical tackles in both the tackling box and in the open field. We're going to be sound tacklers who deliver a blow to the ball carrier. Now, this tackling section is small because we teach tackling in the EWO program and in my own system as its own entity. So tackling is extremely important enough to have its own install, its own plan. So in the same way that previous section was schematics, but we didn't talk about calls or coverages or stuff like that because that is its own install. So this is just linebacker drill install. So you're not going to see much here in this tackling section, but this is a good drill. We're staying obviously square. Going to stay on this inside hip tracking it. When he sprints, I'm going to take the opportunity to close ground vertically. And then I shuffle and pace him to stay on this inside hip when he paces. And then I close ground vertically and stay on that inside hip. Because right here, obviously, would be a great hawk tackle opportunity where you can take this left tackle into this left shoulder into this near hip and drive through. Give you one more clip of that. And again, our tackling could be a whole nother discussion that we can get into later. But this is just one of the base drills that we do. Good job. All right, well, I want to thank you all for listening to this presentation. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. My email is mrsamplucker@gmail.com. Feel free to email me any questions that you had. Here's my phone number. Feel free to text me. Generally don't do great at answering calls. Texting would be better. So feel free to send me an email or text me any questions you have or any discussions you want to have. Thank you all. Hope you have a great day, and God bless.